I'm Nikki G, and I'm so excited to welcome you to my podcast, Confessions. This is a space all about you, your stories, and your journey. It's a safe space to tell your truths and be unapologetically you. Today, I want to talk about self care beyond the physical. Self care is so much more than skincare or simply taking a good, bubble bath. Self care is about nurturing every part of yourself, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. We sometimes get so caught up in taking care of our spouse, taking care of the children, taking care of maybe your family members, and we forget to just take a minute or two and step back and just check in with ourselves. That's important. The essence of self care is being able to nourish your soul. And when you nourish your soul, that is the real essence of self care. It's about setting boundaries, learning to say no, and just being compassionate with yourself. All of those things make up self care. Today, I have a guest here who is going to help us with this subject. She is a self care educator. She is a fitness trainer. She is a life coach. She is the owner of Divine Self Care. She is Miss Crystal Campbell.
Hello,
Yay!
hello, everybody. Hello, that was quite the introduction.
Welcome to Confessions.
Thank you so much for having me. I really like how you started the segment off with just giving the definition of self-care, because I think that it's a word that's kind of thrown around a lot. It's very trendy, and usually when you see people, they post the reels and stuff like that, hashtag self-care. They're doing the bubble bath, or maybe they're going to the spa or something like that. But I believe, and this is from my experience, that self-care encompasses so much more than that. In fact, I think that is really the most important self-care is the kind that we do internally.
Yes.
Because it's like once you make that inside change, when you change your mindset, then all of a sudden that starts the transformation for everything else outside of you to transform.
I remember when I started my self-care journey, I was that person that thought going to the nail shop or just simply, like you said, taking a hot bath, I thought that was all self-care, but that's not all to it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I began to study about mental health and learning how to physically, mentally and emotionally take care of myself that I realized a lot of us are walking around and don't realize what self-care really is all about.
Yeah.
That's why we need you professionals
Yeah. Yes.
to
Yes.
key us in. So tell us about your self-care journey. How did it start?
You know what? I started I'm just going to be honest. I haven't always been the self-care person. I was actually quite the opposite back in the day. I was the workaholic. I was the people pleaser. Didn't want to say no, didn't want to disappoint people. And I felt like, that was just normal to me. I just felt like, that made me a good person. That was something that I enjoyed doing. But I think probably what started to change my mind was I lost my health back in 2017. And I went to my grandmother's funeral. And afterwards, everybody was posting pictures on social media and everything. So I'm being tagged in posts, and I'm looking at, all of the different posts. And I saw the pictures of myself, and I didn't recognize myself. And it wasn't just like, just my body, but just even my facial expressions, it was just kind of off. And back then, I was almost 240 pounds. I was taking medication every day. I had high blood pressure. I had chronic joint pain, just chronic fatigue. Everything was chronic. And at that moment, I realized that my life was out of control. My body was out of control. My it almost felt like my mind was out of control, my finances, just everything. And I think probably the turning point for me when I really knew that I needed to do something was I got high blood pressure. And that was something that, like, my mom suffered from that a lot, And I remember seeing her, just in her room, with the drapes drawn and the covers over her head, just absolutely miserable and having to go to the doctor and take medication. And I always told myself, I'm never going to go through that. Mm-hmm. So when I found out that I had high blood pressure, I was like, wow, I really have just lost, I just got disconnected from myself, and I felt absolutely stuck back then. I didn't have any type of knowledge about fitness training or eating healthy or anything like that. That was never my focus. But I was sitting in my car one day just crying because I just felt stuck. And I had this question popped in my head. And the question was, Chrissy, don't you want to see the other side of this? And, I just got quiet because I never even really considered that. It had been so long that I had felt unhealthy, didn't feel comfortable with my body, was insecure. I hated shopping for clothes. I had to deal with the joint pain and, taking the medication. I didn't ever just really stop and think about what it would feel like to wake up in the morning and just have a lot of energy and have the strength to do everything that I wanted to do and to just really, really feel good in my body and comfortable with myself. And I sat down and I wrote down everything that I wanted. And then from that, I created what I called my self-care plan. And I picked a couple of things to start working on. And the first thing was my physical fitness. So that's how I got into fitness training.
Mm-hmm.
And
so at that time, her story is so familiar to me and probably to other people that's listening right now. So at that time, sometimes we going through life and everything is just happening, one thing after another, and we're not taking care of ourselves. Of course, you're not eating right. That's where the high blood pressure come in. Mm-hmm. That's why I said self-care is beyond the physical, beyond that. Mm-hmm. We have to learn to how our body operates, mm-hmm. Where are we in our mental status, in our emotional health? Where are we in that? It's important for you to stay in tune with your body. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So after you figured out, okay, I have this plan, was it just physical or was it mental or was it like kind of all of the above?
It was physical, mental, spiritual, financial.
Yeah, the finances were really caused you to have high blood pressure.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And you know what? I was about to lose my career because I have a very physical job, and physically, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it anymore.
What were you doing at the time?
At the time, I was just a massage therapist. I worked at different spas, franchises, but I also went to people's houses and, went to other places, so you're carrying equipment. And then you are literally putting your energy into another person to help them with pain relief, tension relief, or whatever complaint that they have. So I was constantly taking care of everybody else, taking care of myself. That wasn't even on my to-do list.
And that's a lot of us women and men, we so busy living life, we take care of everybody else, like I said, then we forget about VIP ourselves.
Definitely.
So that's what I'm hoping to change with this podcast. I'm hoping that this will open the eyes to some people so we can break what I like to call a generational curse of putting everybody else before yourself. Now, I was taught that as a child.
Yeah.
You put yourself on the back burner. I read this article, and it's called Burnt Toast. It was about this mom. She cooked breakfast for her family. And she cooked maybe 5 pieces of toast. I don't know the exact amount. But she gave her family all the good toast, and she took the burnt toast. So for a lot of us, we always taking the burnt toast and never thinking about ourselves. Yeah. And that woke me up too. When I read that article, I was like, I never thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah. As you told everybody, I'm a coach for women, fitness trainer. I also do meal planning. And I typically attract clients who are in the same position that I was in. They feel completely out of control in their life. They feel like they don't have time for themselves. They don't like their bodies at all. They don't like shopping for clothes and things of that nature. And when I sit down and I talk to them, they all typically have the same mindset, and it's that they are supposed to be taking care of everybody else. I call it good girl syndrome. Wanting to be the good wife and the good mother and the good sibling and the good daughter, the good employee. We crave that validation for people to tell us that we are good, and I think that's a very good way to boost self-esteem, is to serve others, but it becomes toxic when it leads to self-abandonment.
Yes.
Yeah, and my clients, that's where they're at. That's where I was at the self-abandonment phase, like every area of my life.
Yeah, I think we all can relate to that. I have been there too. Mm-hmm. So how do you advise your clients when they're at that self-abandonment phase?
Well, I always tell my clients to first take accountability. You have to be accountable for where you are. I think probably one of the reasons why I kind of sort of had a rough start to my self-care journey, and that's a whole story in itself, was I kind of had a victim mentality, and it was hard for me to just accept that I wasn't treating myself very well. And I had to take accountability for that, for how I reacted to life, for how I pretty much ignored myself for the sake of trying to take care of everybody else. And once I was able to have that accountability, I was able to have some compassion on myself. Because I think accountability to a lot of people kind of sort of feels like an attack. Mm-hmm. It kind of feels like we have a bunch of fingers pointed at us saying, this is your fault, Mm-hmm. But, you have to understand that it's not about fault. It's something that happens.
Yes.
Because life happens, and we manage it the best way that we can. And some of us, we weren't taught how to react to life in ways that help us. Mm-hmm. We basically did what we saw our parents do, or we saw other adults do coming up. So yes, I would say have some accountability for where you are, and then have some compassion on yourself, and get really specific about what you want. Get very specific about what you want. Don't question whether or not you can do it or you can have it. Don't get stuck on the how. Just figure out what it is that you want. What do you want for yourself? What does the best version of yourself look like? What does healthy relationships look like for you? What does a healthy and balanced income look like? What does a healthy mindset and body and a strong spiritual life look for you? Okay? And then just get started. Take action. Make a commitment. We have to make the commitment, because it's just good intentions aren't enough. It's not enough to say, well, I think I want to do this and this would be nice and that. No. You commit to everybody else. You got to commit to yourself. You wouldn't want to be in a relationship with somebody who wasn't committed to you. You don't want to be with somebody who just has good intentions, because when stuff gets hard, what's going to happen to Mr. Good Intentions? I had good intentions, but things aren't working out. But when you make that commitment to invest in yourself, and that's what it is an investment. I had to learn how to make that distinction, because I think for a lot of us, we look at self-care as an indulgence. You know,
Yes.
as long as you look at it as an indulgence, it's kind of sort of like dessert, you know, and it's
That's
not
true.
that. It's the main course. It's the meat and the vegetables that you need to have every single day,
That is true.
or, you know, you're not going to be nourished right to do what you need to do.
That's
You know,
true.
so yeah, make that commitment and take action. You know, take the thinking out of it. It's not about you know, overthinking what you need to do. It's just starting somewhere. Just start somewhere. Start small. My first goal was to be able to run for 15 minutes straight without getting tired and without stopping. I wasn't able to do that because of the joint pain, and I would get tired. From that small goal, I never thought that would have led me to a bodybuilding show and winning my first bodybuilding competition in February 2021.
So let's back up to, well, when I was researching for this topic, I was shocked to find out that there are exactly 8 types of self-care.
Mm.
We mainly stick to the physical,
We certainly do.
but it's actually 8 types. But I only wrote down 3. Physical, as Miss Crystal was just talking about, the nutrition, exercise, sleep. You will be surprised if you don't give your body enough sleep. You it's just like you drunken with alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies need sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Mental. How do you advise people when they're on the journey of self-care to deal with their mental?
I would say, first and foremost, ask for help. It's so hard for people to be vulnerable these days.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to be looked at as not being competent. We don't want to be looked at as being weak. But, you know, I say the first step is just asking for help and admitting that you do need help.
Yeah.
You can't tackle a problem if you can't acknowledge that there is a problem, you know? So you acknowledge the problem and you reconnect with yourself. We're so disconnected. All these smartphones, these notifications and the emails, and there's so many distractions around us that keep us disconnected from ourselves. So, of course, a lot of us feel crazy.
Yeah.
You know, we feel
Out of whack with
crazy.
And how I was able to get in tune with myself, I started to do things by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I went out to eat by myself. I think the first task I did was I went to a movie. Because if you think about it, you go in a movie, you don't really have to talk to anybody. You can just sit there, watch the movie. I was scared to death, but that's what I did. Yeah. Then I advanced to going out to eat. I said, these people probably think I'm crazy. I just ordered the food just to be on the table. It's nobody but me. But I was getting in tune with myself to see what it is I liked or what I didn't like. You know, what was good to my body, to my soul, and what wasn't. When we spend all our days catering to other people, we don't really know who we are. So we have to take time to find out who we really are and where we are in our journey. That's important because at that time, I was coming out of a divorce. I had spent my days raising my children, which at that time they were grown. They were gone on their own. And I was just there alone thinking, who is Nikki? What does Nikki like? What does Nikki not like? I've been a people pleaser for so long. I had to take that time and get in tune with myself. So I would advise people self-care is most definitely getting in tune with your body, knowing who you are, first of all, because that's where your boundaries come in and you learn to say no. Because some of us, because we are people pleasers, we don't know how to say no. We're too scared of rejection, or maybe we have abandonment issues. We thinking these people are not going to talk to us anymore if we say no. But saying no isn't about them. It's for you and your mental and your emotional. Have you ever ran into that type of self-care journey for someone?
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely. And I'm so glad you brought up the mental, because I actually have a therapist. That's one of the things that I do for my mental self-care. And she taught me to date myself. Don't wait for somebody to take you out
Exactly.
and celebrate you and pour into you. You know, I will look at myself in the mirror and just tell myself, you are beautiful. I'm so proud of you. You're such a strong person. You're so consistent. I gas myself up.
You have to.
So therefore, if somebody comes along and they want to gas me up, that's just icing on the cake. You know, because I'm constantly giving myself, you know, that validation. And that's definitely something that I teach to my clients, because I think we don't consider that when we speak to ourselves negatively, we're listening to ourselves.
That's self-talk.
You know, and we are programming that into our system. And we have to tell ourselves the truth. We have to tell ourselves that we are beautiful, that we are strong, because the human brain is tricky and it has an imagination. It creates these stories. And if you don't tell yourself the truth, you might start to believe those stories. And then you're going to start to act that out, and you're going to go out in life and you're going to react from that, and you're going to be confused because you're going to be like, why is my life not, you know, what I know it should be for me? Why is my reality not what I know I deserve? And it's because of what you're speaking into yourself.
For me, I feel like when you don't live in your truths, you become bound to behaviors, you become bound to certain people, you know, places and things that ordinarily, like she said, eventually that discernment is going to kick in. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is not God's plan for my life.
Yeah.
But by that time, you know, you down that road, and then you have to figure out how to get to, you know, onto the right road, put it like that, especially with your self-care journey. And also, I forgot to mention too, when I began to date myself, go places by myself, I went to Miami by myself. Now that was scary. But I did, because I would usually travel in groups. I said, let me try it by myself just to see what it was like. Once I got there, it was other people by themselves too. So I just kind of mix and mingle with those. But that was important for me to build my confidence too. Like you said, I look in the mirror and say, oh, you're strong. You know, girl, you did that. Now, would I do it again? Probably not. But I did it that day. Yeah. So it's important. That self-talk is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. We set the standards for how other people treat us.
Yes.
People watch how we treat ourselves. And when people see that you, you know, you pour into yourself, you do for yourself, you care about your feelings. You're not walking around trying to act all hard like you don't have feelings, like you don't feel pain. People, they notice that and they fall in line. You know, I tell, you know, my clients I have clients who, they love to tell me, these are my massage clients, oh, I have a high pain tolerance, you know, and it's something that they just kind of sort of brag about. I mean, their body can be completely falling apart, and they'll just be smiling. Oh, I have a high pain tolerance. You can't hurt me. Well, you know what? When you don't take care of yourself or whatever, people, they see that. And whereas people can be a good support system to you and see that you're struggling and that you're hurting and step in and help you, they won't help you because they feel like, oh, she got it. She all right. She doesn't need any help. You know, she's not hurting that bad, you know.
That is another podcast I said I was going to.
I
was going to do. I'm going to do it. It's the one person in the family that everybody says, oh, she's okay. She's strong. She can handle it. And I was that person.
The strong friend.
I was broken. I needed help. But everybody considered me the strong person. No, that person needs help too sometimes.
Right. Right.
I mean, the self-care journey is so important for women and men too. I can't speak on men, but for a woman, I can. Because I had to figure out, first of all, who I was. I had so many people telling me who they thought I was. That I had to sit down and figure out, first of all, who God said I was first. And I had to stand on that. Like I said, I had lived my life for so long. playing different roles. And I'm pretty sure a lot of women out there, as well, doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Accountability. Yeah, you have to hold yourself accountable and figure out why you're in the spot that you're in. Mm-hmm. It's not everybody else's fault. You played a part in it.
Yes.
That accountability is tough, but you have to do it to move forward.
Yes. And let go of the guilt. There's so much shame around making time for yourself and spending money on yourself. Especially if you have people around you who they will put you on a guilt trip when they see that you're investing in yourself. I had to learn how to not feel bad for telling people no, and for letting people know that no is a full sentence. I shouldn't have to explain that to anybody. Ooh. I would feel so bad, and I felt like I was doing something wrong, especially because this is the thing for us recovering people pleasers. When we finally start setting boundaries, people don't like that.
No.
People push back. People start side-eyeing you. People start talking about you, and we don't like that. That doesn't feel good to us. But like I tell my clients, we have to sort of re-educate people and re-educate them about who we really are, And the way I look at it is either people are going to fall in line or they're not. Either way, that's none of my concern. That's right. None of my business. My business is to make sure that at the end of the day, I'm okay and I'm all right.
That's right. And there is power in saying no. When I did that show, and I would always do Wonder Woman, it was more to it than just the actual Wonder Woman suit. It was the power pose. How that pose, when you walk in the room, it draws attention. That you demand respect when you walk in the room with that power pose. That is why I always wore that outfit, because I was taking my power back in those moments. Yes. That was me taking my power back.
Yes.
What people say, oh, Nikki, don't do that or don't do this. No, I'm doing that.
Yes.
And that was for me.
I remember that show.
Yes.
And that Wonder Woman suit.
And I'm finna cry, because that's why I wore that. I was taking my power back.
Yeah. Yes.
That is, so when you learn to say no, set boundaries, and just as Miss Crystal said, people are going to want you back into the old person that you used to be, because they were taking advantage of you more than likely. And they don't want to let go of that person.
Exactly.
That person never said no. Whether they needed a ride, whether they needed money, they needed somewhere to stay, that person would never say no.
Yeah. People don't want to lose their benefits.
Yes.
Some people know that they're benefiting from you not focusing on yourself and not taking care of yourself. And, they're not going to stop you and say, you don't worry about me. You just need to, no, they want to keep getting those benefits.
When you learn to say no, it's so much pressure off your mental and emotional. I mean, it was like a weight lifted off me. I remember a long time ago, Fee used to have us run with this, that 18-wheeler tire tied around us or something.
Oh, yes.
And in my mind, I used to think that's all the dead weight, toxic weight I've been carrying around with me for so many years. It was just dragging me along until I learned to set those boundaries, until I learned to tell people no, until I learned who I was in God's eyes and not the eyes of people.
Yes. That's powerful. Learning to see yourself the way God sees you. Because I think that, I don't know, there are individuals out there who kind of sort of push back at the, self-care, and they say, well, it's selfish. I actually have a very good friend who, she had a family member to tell her that she was selfish because she posted about self-care. And that in her family, the women are, they're groomed to be very self-sacrificial, and you don't complain. You happily just sacrifice yourself for everybody, and she was told that she was selfish. And I think that, we don't want to be called that. We don't want to be called that. Like I said, we do want the validation. We want to be a good person. But what I found is that investing in myself and giving myself what I need so that I can be the best version of myself, I'm actually better for people now than I was back then.
I didn't look at it like that.
Yeah, I am. I didn't have the capacity to really help somebody out financially if they needed it, because I was struggling too. I didn't have the energy to help clients to the capacity that I do a lot. I teach classes, I do fitness training, do meal planning, I do massage, I do body contouring. I couldn't do all of that back then when I was just that sacrificial lamb. I can do it now because I'm never walking around with my cup empty. Never.
And that's what it's like in a lot of our homes. African American homes, the women, we're taught to sacrifice ourselves till we just no more existing. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's true. Being if you do something for somebody, if you do something for yourself, like you said, you consider selfish.
Yes.
But I remember reading somewhere, self-care is not selfish, it's necessary.
Yeah.
Because how can you be there for someone else when you are all in pieces?
Exactly. And one thing that I have found is that people who really love you, they want to see you happy. They want to see you healthy. They don't want you to be a martyr for them. They want you to live for them. And we don't consider that living for the people around us. And that's what self-care does for us. It makes us so that our cup is overflowing. And we are just constantly giving out from that overpour. Like you can't, when you are abundant, you can't help but bless the people around you. Just them being in close proximity to you is going to bless them because your life is so rich. They have no choice but to get some of the overflow. Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit, I know about your emotional eating journey. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, wow. You know what? I have been an emotional eater. I thank God I'm delivered from that. But really ever since I can remember, I was raised in a household that it was very, very strict. And it wasn't a safe place to be honest about how I felt. You could be ridiculed. You could be bullied for it. I remember being punished one time for being vocal about how I felt. And that taught me at a young age that feelings are bad. Feelings get me in trouble. When I'm honest about how I feel, there's some pain, there's some negative consequence to that. So I'm going to avoid my feelings. And I learned how to find ways to distract myself from how I felt. And eating was one of the ways that I did that. That's how I ran away from issues and problems. I think probably one of the reasons why I was such a bad emotional eater was because one of my triggers is I need to feel like I'm in control. There's no such thing as being in control.
What? No,
there's no such thing.
You have to explain that. What do you mean?
There's no such thing because life happens.
Ooh.
Hello, COVID. I don't care how structured you had your life back then, how well together you were. When COVID hit, everything shut down. And that was a very good lesson in there is no such thing as control. So you can imagine that, you know, whenever I encountered a time in my life where it just felt like everything was too much, what did I do? I went to my crutch. I went to food. Food is the most abundant drug in the world because it's legal
Preach.
and it's everywhere. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. You go to the grocery store and you're checking out, and what do they have in the end stands?
Candy.
Yes, chips.
I like to call it garbage.
Yes, pretty much. Pretty much. You know, it's everywhere. You know, if you have a corporate job, just go in the break room and it's somebody's birthday and you got all of this cake and cookies and everything, and everybody's giving each other sugar, you know, and all of these highly soluble foods, high in fat, high in salt. You know, there's a reason why fast food places they open 24/7. There's a reason why you can get food delivered to your door, because these companies know that this stuff is addictive. And for somebody who is an emotional eater, it's just so abundant. It's so difficult to break that cycle of emotional eating.
Wow. So how did you overcome it?
It was stages. I would say first and foremost, God.
Yes.
Because to have a habit that I had ever since I was a little girl, and that wasn't frowned upon in my family. I come from a country family. So when you eat a lot, they just say you're healthy. You
thick.
Yeah, you just
big
have
bone.
exactly. You have you have a good appetite. You know, so I think probably what really caused me to face it was competing. Because, you know, when my waist started cinching in and my muscles were popping and everybody was telling me, girl, you look good and you're so inspiring. But what they didn't know was that I would be great Monday through Friday. But when the weekend came, oh, honey, I was eating the Mexican food. I was throwing back the margaritas, and I was eating the kettle-cooked chips. And that was just my dirty little secret. And I hit a plateau. And I had gotten to this weight, and I just could not get that scale to move. And I was so frustrated, and it made me realize that I still didn't have a healthy relationship with food, that I still used it as a crutch. I used it as my reward at the end of the week for all of the hard work I did, you know, Monday through Friday. And, you know, I realized that me and food, we had a toxic relationship. We did. And I had to heal that relationship. And I had to start seeing food for what it is. It's medicine. It's fuel, you know, but it's the kind of medicine, it's either going to heal you or it's going to kill you, depending on how you use it. And once I started seeing it as it is my medicine, it's the reason why I'm able to train the way I do. It's the reason why I have the energy to help my clients and be of service to the people around me, and healing that is what helped me to break it, and also finding other ways to reward myself and to feel pleasure, you know, which is my weight training, which is therapy, which is making time to be intentional about connecting with my friends, and, you know, not making excuses that, oh, I have to work and I have to do this, I have to do that. It's taking myself to the spa, you know, so I don't need to run to food anymore, because I already have so many different ways to cope and to make myself feel good.
And it's also good to prioritize things in your life. For example, with me, if it's something like I want to go to the gym or they're offering me an extra shift at work, prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
I could always work an extra shift, but I only got that one window to go to the gym. Mm-hmm. So you have to prioritize, because at one time, you know, I was doing things backwards. I was like, oh, I got to go to work. No, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to reverse that. And I'm pretty sure some of you guys will have to do the same thing. Prioritize what's important to you and make it important and keep it that way.
Definitely.
Don't pedal backwards. Keep going forward.
Yes, yes. Keep filling your cup back up. And I think when you hear the term where you gotta fill your cup up, we feel like we need to do these grand things to fill our cup up. Like we have to take a trip to Italy or Greece or something like that. No, I tell my clients, fill your cup drip by drip.
Mm-hmm.
Keep putting the drips in. Going to the gym, that's a drip. That's a drip. Connecting with a friend, talking on the phone with a friend that, y'all just make each other feel really good when you're talking to each other. Bible study, trying new things, different hobbies, going to that Pilates class, that yoga class. Those are just little drips. And if you consistently drip that into your cup, eventually you'll get to the point to where you're just overflowing all of the time. And it's just drip by drip. You don't have to do a whole lot.
And I would say, don't wait until something happens in your life. And I will use myself for an example. Most of you guys already know I had breast cancer. So when I looked in the mirror one night, it was like blood coming out of my breast. And I was like, oh God, is this it for me? I began to reflect on my life. All the things I put on the back burner. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to put myself, last. That ran through my mind. Is this the end? Is this it? Don't get to that point. It's time. You got time now to turn things around in your life. And self-care is top priority, because until you're healthy mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, it's just almost impossible to move forward. You're going to remain stuck. Just as Crystal said, she was stuck, because you're stuck wherever you are. It's like a car. When I say in neutral, it's like a car. If a car is in neutral, it doesn't go forward. It doesn't go backward. It just stays right there.
It certainly does. I have so many clients that I work with now, and I've worked over the years, who now they are in the twilight of their life. They're retired. All of their kids are grown. They have grandkids. They have great-grandkids. And I would say the top regret that they expressed to me is, Crystal, I wish I would have taken better care of myself when I was younger. Because, we like to say, well, life is short, life is short. You know what? Life feels a lot longer when you feel good, when you have energy to do all of the things that you want to do, So I have seen that with my older clients. Now, I do have some older clients who they got the memo, and they are retired. And honey, they are living the high life. They're going to whatever concert they want to go to.
That's right.
They're traveling. They're golfing. They're going to the gym. They're spending time with their kids, their grandkids. They are really enjoying their life. But they all have one thing in common. They take very good care of themselves.
That's the key.
Yeah.
You have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
And, for me, when I was given another chance, I went zip lining. I was traveling. I was going places like, Nikki, where you going now? I don't know. All you had to do is call me and say, we going so-and-so. I'm like, okay, I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Live life. I made my mind up, too, that I just wasn't going to work until I die. I feel like that's the American way. They want us to work until you, 60, 70 years old, and you haven't even experienced anything but work in your life.
Yes.
If you don't make a change.
Yeah.
And I said I wasn't going to do that. And I'm going to let other people know that they don't have to do that either.
Yeah.
You may not travel, but like she said, maybe it's golf, maybe it's going to the movies. Whatever it is that's going to feed your soul, that's self-care.
Yes.
Whatever it is you like. What's your passion? That's all a part of self-care. Not just, like I said, the baths.
Yes.
That is ways when you're healthy, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. That is self-care.
And I would say to individuals out there who maybe they are struggling with self-care, or maybe they do feel guilty about it, you have no idea how many people around you will inspire just by how you pour into yourself. You know, I have people in my life who they've actually started to make changes with themselves just because of how they see I treat myself. You know, I've had people in my family who I don't even talk to like that just text me out of the blue. Chrissy, I want to lose about 5 or 10 pounds. You know, I want to talk to you about a food plan, or I'm thinking about, strength training. You know, can you tell me a little bit about that? You have no idea the people who will be inspired by you and have the courage to create the change they want to see in their lives just because of your example, because people are watching you. You may not think they are, but they are. I have people who reach out to me and they say, well, I saw you posted about, this recipe that you were cooking on social media. And I'm like, but you don't even like my posts. Like, where are you? I don't even see you commenting and stuff. But they see what I'm doing. They're watching and they are inspired about it. You know, it makes them curious.
And that's the way we bring about change. Mm-hmm. We have to be changed first. Mm-hmm. And then, like she said, people watch you and then they want to change. Mm-hmm. You know, that's important, and especially for our children and, like me, grandchildren. I had to change because I was not going to carry all that stuff over into, to the new generation. Mm-hmm. I wanted them to see something different. Something different.
Yes.
Because that's a heavy weight to carry. When you're mentally and emotionally just bound to stuff, that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's like that movie, what was it, Groundhog Day? You live in the same day every single day. You wake up in the morning and you know what to expect. Back then, I knew every morning I was going to be in some sort of pain. I knew at the end of the day I was going to be tired. I knew that I may have some issue with my blood pressure getting high. Every day was the same. It was. Mm-hmm. Now I wake up in the morning and I'm like, okay, let's see what happens today. Let's see who I meet and connect with today. Let's see what I discover about myself today.
And I would say practice gratitude as well. Like she said, it could be small steps you take, but celebrate the small steps and just be thankful.
Yeah.
When I was going through my journey, I was just thankful to be able to get up and walk in the next room. I said, oh, thank you. Mm-hmm. And that will change your whole attitude about things.
It certainly will.
Practicing gratitude daily. That's self-care as well. It really is.
Celebrate the small wins. Don't wait. We want to wait until we get the dream house and the dream car and the dream job, or we take the dream vacation to just really No, celebrate the small wins. Celebrate the small. I've had clients who, because they don't have a background of fitness, maybe they start off training 2 days a week. But they're looking at everybody else in the gym who's, they're doing CrossFit or they're training 5-6 days a week. And they're comparing their experience to other people and they feel like they're not doing enough. But I'm like, no, a month ago you weren't doing anything. But now you are actually taking the initiative to get up, go to the gym, get you a good hour in. Celebrate that.
That's right.
Celebrate that. Before I hit a bodybuilding stage, I had to celebrate the first time I was able to hit that 15-minute mark without stopping, and, go from training 3 days a week to 5 days a week, and go from wearing that size 12 to going to that size 8, and then that size 6, and I was celebrating the whole way. I would celebrate when I would have a craving to go back into bad eating habits, and I was able to resist that. I would celebrate that. Like, okay, Chrissy, I see you, setting boundaries with food. I see you being an advocate for yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
what? Look at that, setting boundaries with food. That's a good one.
Yeah, set boundaries with food. Just like you set boundaries with people. You know, it's a relationship. It's a relationship. You know, there's so many labels out there: emotional eater, sugar addict, binge eating. It all boils down to you have a bad relationship with food. Y'all are in a toxic relationship.
I've been in a toxic relationship with food for years.
You need therapy. You need counseling. You need a mediator. You know, you probably need to do some journaling. Something. Yeah, fix it. Do what you need to do to fix it.
And I learned also that different types of foods, like when I was going to the doctor for the blood pressure, they were telling me that my potassium was off, and I kept asking, "What is potassium? What is that?" I'm getting potassium, sodium kind of intertwined. It's not the same thing. So I went online. I started listening to this doctor, and he advised people to eat maybe 10 to 12 cups of lettuce or kale, well, not lettuce, but kale, spinach, green leafy, like a salad. And it said that stuff is high in potassium. So I did it, but I didn't do the 10 cups. I did 3. I couldn't eat 10 cups of lettuce. I ain't going to be able to do that. And it worked. Yeah. All that time I was going to the doctor. They want to give me medicine. All I had to do was just eat that green leafy vegetables every day, and it went away. And that changed my mindset a lot about food too. How it can be your friend versus your enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's we have to learn how to work with our food instead of looking at it as just something we use to make us happy or pacify us. It's something that we really have to work with. And I've even gotten as extensive as I started eating for my blood type. I didn't know there was.
That.
I didn't even
Did
know
it work?
there was a such thing.
I saw people do it. I saw when y'all were doing it, but I never.
Yes. What made me look into it was when I was competing, I was having an issue with all of the meat. It was bad. Like I was drinking magnesium citrate. I was taking the super digestive enzymes and colon cleansers and everything. My body was struggling to break it down so much. And so one of my posing coaches was like, have you ever looked into eating for your blood type? And I was like, no, that doesn't, I wasn't even sure if I knew what my blood type was. But I found this book called The 4 Types. It's I think the title is that, it's The 4 Types. And I'm A positive. Come to find out, I should be eating more like a vegetarian, which is why I was having all of the issues with the meat. And come to find out that certain foods that are considered healthy are not healthy for me because of my blood type. I'm not even supposed to be drinking alcohol. I used to wonder why, when I would drink afterwards, I didn't feel the bubbly feeling that everybody else was feeling. For my blood type, I shouldn't be drinking alcohol, specifically distilled alcohol. So I completely cut it out. Yeah. Yes. Wow. So that is working with your food to make it work for you and use it as your medicine. And when you start approaching your relationship with food like that, after a while, you get accustomed to feeling so good and so energized. All that stuff you used to love to eat, you won't want it. I can't eat like I used to eat back in the day. I can't. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Some of it doesn't even satisfy me. Some of it does. It's not even that flavorful.
You have to think back too when you were saying relationship with food. It triggered me back to my family, because whenever something would happen, let's say, Lord forbid, somebody got pregnant or somebody, snuck out of the house, the first thing my family would do, all my aunties and everybody would get together and they would cook food to deal with those emotions. So think about how you develop your relationship with food. And that's the start with self-care as well, your emotional side of food. And that's where mine started with, now that I think about it, because that's what we did. And then as growing up, I started doing the same thing with my kids. I was like, wait a minute, it's not right.
Right.
Or making them eat everything on the plate because I was afraid they were going to be hungry. Eat everything. You don't have to eat everything.
Right. Especially these Texas-sized portions.
Yeah, you don't have to eat everything. It's part of your mental and emotional well-being.
I'm glad you mentioned tracing it back to the beginning, because for my coaching clients, for the ones specifically who are struggling with sugar addiction and emotional eating, I actually take them through an exercise. It's a visualization where we go back to where the relationship went bad. We go back to the beginning where it started. And a lot of them are very surprised at why they do the emotional eating. The reason that they thought they were doing it is not the real reason. There's actually a much deeper reason. And once they find out that why and what their triggers are, that's when they're able to start breaking that habit. They're able to get ahead of it.
Yeah, that's goes into being in tune with yourself, knowing your situation, knowing your body. Once you become a certain age, all of those things matter. Growing up when you're 20, 21, you don't think about that kind of stuff. You're just living your life.
You want to be cute.
Yeah, you're just living life. You're not thinking about your mental, emotional. You're just living life. So that's the purpose I set up this podcast. I want to break what we like to say generational curses of it's a lot of things that we grew up doing that we now know we shouldn't do.
Right.
And that eating, emotional eating, not taking care of our bodies, that's important. But I wanted to talk about it more beyond the physical sense, the mental and emotional side of it as well. Because we can go out here and we can work out, we can eat right, we can look good on the outside, but if we're not healed on the inside, it's serving no purpose.
Exactly.
It's serving no purpose because whatever weight you're carrying around is still going to be there.
Yes. And what's in you is going to come out. There was a point in my weight loss journey where I had so many people validating me, telling me how good I looked, and I've been looking at your progress online and just keep going and everything. But what a lot of people didn't know was that I was still dealing with some negative feelings. And there were times when I would feel actually depressed. And what I realized was that I had been so focused on the outside and transforming the outside, I wasn't really trying to transform the inside. I was doing things backwards, And that was the moment that I said, you know what? I'm really going to dial into this self-care journey full scale. Mind, body, spirit, finances. And that's when I recommitted to myself, because I didn't want to walk around looking cute, but feeling like I was in pieces. I really wanted wholeness. I wanted wholeness, and I wanted to feel better on the inside than I actually felt about the outside. I mean, the outside is great. I like being snatched. But I wanted my inside to really reflect the transformation on the outside.
Exactly. And that's the purpose of this podcast. I need people to know that whatever you're struggling with, that's what it is, a struggle. You don't have to stay there. You can heal and move forward. Because once you heal on the inside, you're going to glow naturally.
Oh, yes.
I don't care what size you are. You're going to glow naturally.
Yes.
So it's important that we begin the healing process. And self-care is part of the healing process. When I started the journey, I had to learn a lot because I had been taught one way, and now I have learned what is the proper way. So now I can push that on to my kids, going forward. And you can do the same thing.
Yes.
Do you have kids? I never.
No.
No, you don't have any kids.
I don't have kids.
Not yet.
No, not yet. I have a niece and I have nephews who think they're my kids. But I have to remind them,
So tell us about divine self-care.
Divine self-care. Oh, wow. It's my business, but I feel like it's also my passion project that was born from my journey. You know, when I first started this, I was, like I said, I was working in spas and franchises, and it was a dream of mine to work for myself. But back then, I just didn't see it happening because, you know, I was convinced that my circumstances were just bleak, to say the least. And, you know, I think it was right before I did my first bodybuilding show that I got this idea. I wanted to create a gentle revolution in self-care. And I wanted to teach people, in particular women, how to give themselves what they need so that they can become the best version of themselves, and to inspire them to dream. Because the dreams, the desires that we have, they're not for nothing. God put that in you for a reason.
Yes.
But it's for you to dig deeper and pull that out and manifest that. And you will be surprised at how not only that transforms your life, but it touches the people around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where can they, do you have like a website? Or where can they?
People can reach me on Instagram. It's at Divine Body SC. And then on TikTok, it's divine_self-care. I do massage, body contouring, do meal planning, fitness training. I also do a lot of teaching. I teach classes like how to beat emotional eating, how to hack your macros for weight loss. I teach rehab and recovery classes. Girl, I'm everywhere.
I see. When you sent me your intro, I was like, woo.
Yes. Yes, my office is in Katy off of I-10 and Fry Road, but I am mobile.
Okay, you're mobile.
Yes, I am.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay, so that is divine self-care. Whenever she covers all areas.
Yeah.
Whatever you're struggling with, she is ready and prepared to help you.
I certainly am.
And if you need coaching, I can help you with that. Life coaching. Maybe you're struggling and you don't know how to go forward. You can go to internal evolutions.com. You can book a discovery session. And that's where you would come in. It's free. You come in, we'll sit down, and we'll just go over, you know, what your goals are. What are you trying to obtain? And we will take it from there. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You have to start somewhere. So for the biblical muscle, I want to read Mark 1:35. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went out to a solitary place where he prayed. When I read that, I thought about he took time from healing, praying for people, doing all the things that he was doing to take time for himself, to make time for his relationship, you know, his body. He took time for himself. So why can't we? If Jesus did that, why can't we?
Right.
It's important that we take that time to ourselves, whether it be first thing in the morning. If you're a mother, wife, first thing in the morning while everybody's sleeping, take that hour or so to yourself. It will do you a world of good. Because I know at one time I felt like I was getting pulled multiple ways. You know, my husband wants this, my kids want that, the job want this, and I was at the point where I wasn't saying no. So I was all over the place. And I learned to take that time, maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, but the house was quiet. I could read, I could meditate, I could do things. I could get my head together. It was a recharge. Now that I know, I was recharging, getting ready for the day. Do you advise your clients to do the same thing?
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely. The first part of the day should be how you set the tone for the day. When you set yourself up for success because you are pouring into yourself, you are investing into yourself, that's basically how your day is going to go.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, so with that being said, I'm going to end this podcast. As you see, the red light is going on. I'm going to end this podcast.
Because I can talk about this all day.
So basically, steps to start your self-care is basically figure out where you are in your journey, hold yourself accountable, make your plans, and just take action.
Yes.
Take action.
Do it.
If you like the information that you heard in this podcast, please pass it on or like, share, and subscribe. Each week I have a podcast that I release with some type of information that can help people. With that being said, I want to thank you for tuning in, and we will talk again next week. Thank you for coming, Miss Crystal.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, that's it.